Hello, welcome to another episode of Unplug, where we speak out against the lies and the fallacies from network marketing or multi-level marketing. I'm your host, TJ Musumhi, and in this show, we free the host, or we free the minds of the people that are enslaved and indoctrinated by the network marketing / multi-level marketing matrix. We last left off in my story where I got homeless from just trying to pay my Amway business and my LTD tool subscription, and being pressured to stay in Cedar Falls for that summer of 2017, and them not liking or approving my schedule that I got from my job at the Target Distribution Center that summer of 2017, then having to change jobs and not be able to find a really good job and not have experience trying to find a good job because I'm only 20 at this point. And them wanting me to stay in Cedar Falls during that summer and having to get a car real fast, pressured, and all this other shit. So that's where we left at, and now we'll continue on just to kind of explain. So it's not easy trying to pay off Amway and LTD because monthly you're expected to at least do 100 points or more. And they really pressure you to at least do 300 points. But if not, at least 100 points, bare minimum. And they say it's $300, but really it was actually $400 for me. I never really saw a scenario where it was actually $300 for 100 PV, just to let you know. So anyway, so I was trying to pay that at least $400 or more to meet my quota, so to speak, or 100 PV or more, and then trying to pay $90 a month for my LTD subscription, as well as trying to pay money quarterly to attend conferences, that took place, 4 times a year, and each conference ticket was at least $135 or more, and then you have weekly meetings, which is about $5 a week to attend. Then you have team meetings, which is about $10, which is once a month. So, if you add that up, it's a lot of shit. It's a lot of shit. So, if you're in that world, it's very, very expensive and tough to pay for, as well as your own bills. And this is when I was first learning that I would say almost to my second year of business, but now, more specifically, my first year and a half in business. I dropped out of college and I'm homeless because I'm trying to pay off Amway LTD. I don't really have experience trying to find a good job, and so I'm working at Wendy's and my Hy-Vee part-time with some crappy hours and crappy pay. And then during this time, people that I was close with, my 2 best friends, we stopped speaking to each other. I blocked their numbers. People that taught me how to work out, people that were like my dads, we stopped speaking. My mom is very concerned about this whole time. We didn't stop speaking, but we just weren't as close anymore because at this point she wasn't happy that I dropped out of college. She was actually very disappointed in me. So that's where I'm at in the story. So continuing on, this time when I'm homeless, I applied for a job as a corn sheller. It's basically just helping out with harvest here in Iowa for DuPont Pioneer. That was like $13 an hour. And during this time, I was able to find an apartment in Cedar Falls, which is about $300 a month to pay for. Luckily, and it was my price range, and so I found that, and it was a different apartment, and I got it, and then I wasn't homeless anymore. Fortunately, it took about maybe 3 or 4 months to not be homeless anymore and not be at a homeless shelter anymore. And so we're in roughly October 2017, and it's like the worst year of my life, honestly, with all that happening that I said before. And shit. Then after that, and actually during that time too, my upline sponsor, Daniel Global, and my upline platinum, Billy Hooper, at that time, told me to not go out prospecting anymore, or to not recruit people anymore, and just only attend LTD meetings, conferences, and pay for your products, because basically they said that you need to get your life in order before you go out and meet people. But I trusted them, but it was just like, looking back at it now, this dumb advice. More than ever, I need to go out and build my so-called Amway business so I can make more money, to not be in the position that I'm in, which is homeless. But whatever. They always say, trust your upline. Don't never steer you wrong. So I trusted them naively, and so I stopped prospecting people at this point, and I just focus on paying my LTD subscription and my Amway business, which is dumb advice, and not prospecting at all. Dumb advice until I stop being homeless. Dumb advice. Like, I need to figure out a way to make money so I can not be homeless, but that was their advice. And so I do that, and then eventually I get a place, $300 a month, and we're in October 2017. Okay. At this point, not too bad, but a lot happened previously, and then as I get settled into this apartment, I'm having trouble. Like I said, I'm only making $13 an hour, so I'm able to pay off rent and my bills, but I'm not able to pay off LTD and Amway at the same time. So it was around this time where I stopped doing Ditto, and there was actually a few months where I wasn't really buying any products, hardly any, and I was just only doing things to LTD, which was just buying my subscription. Or actually sometimes I wouldn't do that. Sometimes I would kind of there was a way where I could put an old credit card that I wasn't using, or that wasn't current, and then it wouldn't go through, obviously, but then it was a way for me to still have my LTD account, but just be behind on it as far as my subscription, if that makes sense. So there was some months where I did that, where I didn't pay off my LTD at all, and I was only paying for conferences and meetings that were taking place, weekly, once a month, and then also quarterly, as I said before, because I was really at a bad financial spot, trying to pay off my car, trying to pay off rent, just bills, and then trying to pay off Amway and LTD. I wasn't able to do that all, and so then there were some months where I was skipping Ditto and not buying any Amway products, and skipping, LTD subscriptions, right? So at this point, I'm pretty much broke and fucked over, and yeah, and then I feel like it's the worst year of my life as we move into December of 2017, and things are pretty bad here at home with my mom, and so I'm actually going to Thanksgiving and celebrating Thanksgiving with actually Daniel's family. He invited me there, and eventually I'd come back here for Christmas with my mom in December, and it's like the worst year of my life at this point. And then it suggested during this time that I actually use food stamps. Because if I use food stamps, then I could have some money left over to buy my Amway products and not skip it anymore, because I didn't like that, obviously. That was their suggestion, their advice, and so I wasn't comfortable with that because I don't like using government handouts. This isn't disrespect to people that use food stamps, because I understand that we live in a world where that's needed, but I didn't want to resort to that level unless it was absolutely needed, and it wasn't really needed because I was still able to pay off my bills, but I wasn't able to pay off both my bills and then also Amway and LTD at the same time. That was the issue. And so their best advice was, hey, just instead of using your money to pay off your bills and stuff, just get food stamps so you can pay less of your stuff for, groceries, whatever, and then try and use what's left over to purchase Amway products and also pay LTD subscriptions. And they would pressure me into doing this and say that if you're not doing that, it's your ego getting in the way, and that it's not my ego, it's just I don't want to resort to that level because I don't think it's necessary to do that. And I trusted them, and I even texted Daniel again saying, hey man, I trust you. Are you absolutely sure that's the right path to go? And he said yes. So again, naively, I trusted him. My gut was saying no, but I trusted him anyway, and I applied for food stamps, and I was denied because I forgot the reason why, but I think it was just because something to do with how much money I was making per year or whatever. But I was denied, and so I was back to square zero, where I'm still stuck and no solution. But the idea of me applying for food stamps, looking back at it now, was a dumb idea, and I should have never done that. And looking back at it now, I should have never had stayed in Cedar Falls, Iowa that summer of 2017. I should have just went back home, because it didn't make sense. It really didn't. And it just was against my gut. And I've learned recently now I need to go with my gut instead of just going with what other people say. But anyway, we're in late 2017, December, and then all that happens, and then we move to 2018, and let's see here. At this point, it's suggested that not suggested at this point. This is Daniel Global's last semester at UNI. He's about to graduate. And guess what he says at the end of the semester, or I guess halfway towards the semester ending. So we're talking now February 27, 2018. He's saying, let's move to Ames, Iowa. Ironically, where I'm from. He tells his whole team this. At this point, too, I should mention that Daniel is actually increasing. And at this point now, he's at 4,000 PV. At this point. So, 2018, and he suggests that to his team at this time, which is growing bigger, of course, some more legs, more depth, whatever, that they all move to Ames, Iowa. And I was just pissed off. You know what I mean? What about what you were saying to me months earlier about trying to help this team here in Waterloo, Iowa, or help this info session here in Waterloo, Iowa, and help build that, and all that bullshit that you tell me about helping build that info session, and not, going back to my home city for the summer as a college student. But now all of a sudden, because, fast forward, you're graduating, now you don't care about this local meeting in Waterloo, Iowa to build this info session. Now you're wanting to go to Ames, Iowa. It's just, looking back at it now, it's bullshit. It was all just out of his own convenience. But because during that summertime 2017, he was going to stay there. And so really what it was if I leave and a couple of his other legs leave at that point in time, at that meeting, he's going to have less of his team there during the summertime, which doesn't look good on him. That's what I think in the end, because of what happened fast forward. But I didn't really think of it at the time. I just trusted him and went along with it, but I was still pissed off deep down. Like, really? It's like one day you're here, the next day you're there. It was just BS, and I remember there were times too when I was there was times too, I remember there was times too when I would talk about me prospecting Ames in Des Moines, Iowa. He would always just say that Billy hates Ames, or upline, and then he would always say bad things about Ames and how it's a bad place to contact people or whatever. And then all of a sudden now he wants to move to Ames and build business there, and he wants his team there too, and it's just whatever. But anyway, ironically, he wants to move back to a city where I'm from, where I've grown up my whole life since, as I said before, 1998. So that's his suggestion, and it's because our upline Emerald at the time, Kevin and the Shrews, were on the run for Diamond. And eventually they would go Diamond in 2021, but Daniel Coble wanted his team to be on the heat of that because, Daniel and his team, which is me, part of it, we're all down by to Kevin and Amelia Shreers. That's our upline Emerald. So, you want to get around that heat to see an Emerald go Diamond. And that actually affects your team as well, too. If your team sees that, it's going to inspire them to grow as well. So, that was why Daniel wanted us to be in Ames, Iowa, because Kevin and Amelia Shreers live in Ankeny, Iowa, which is about 15 minutes away from Ames. And there's a local info station there ran by Kevin and Amelia Shreers in Ankeny, Iowa, 15 minutes away. But it was really just all at Daniel's convenience. So whatever. And then next thing you know, that summer of 2018, I moved back to Ames, Iowa, where I'm from, which is kind of funny, right? Full circle. I leave Ames, Iowa, where I'm from, where I grew up since I was 3. My childhood, graduate high school. And then I go to UNI for college, which I guess I didn't mention. I was going for exercise science, looking to be a strength coach for either a collegiate team or a professional team. And then, I dropped out eventually because I see the plan, the Amway compensation plan, my freshman year of college, and I stuck with it, and I eventually dropped out after my sophomore year. And then a year after I drop out, I'm moving back to Ames, where I'm from, where I grew up at. It's just kind of weird, but yeah, I moved back to Ames 2018. Some of his legs moved there, some stay in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and attend the Waterloo position because some of them are still going to college at UNI, and he has some more legs there too at this point. So some are going to different community colleges around Waterloo, Iowa, and so they're just finishing up school, getting their degree. And then once they finish, they're going to eventually move to Ames and be around Daniel, because it's always suggested just to be around your upline as much as you can, right? Your mentors, right? So anyway, I moved back to Ames 2018. At this point, I'm starting to have car troubles, and my upline's bitching at me for not being able to take care of my car properly, but it's because I'm wasting my money trying to pay off this damn Amway business, tools, LTD business, and all the other shit. Whatever. It's not because I don't want to, it's because I don't have the money to. doing the best that I can, but whatever. And then see, eventually I do Uber, I do Lyft, and then it gets more deeper than that. But back in Ames 2018, I do Uber, I do Lyft, just to try and help compensate and try and make more money to pay off my Amway and LTD business. I'm still struggling at this point. Every year for taxes, I'm always at a loss financially. And fast forward, it was always going to be a loss. I never made a profit. I never made the same amount of money that I was pouring into it versus coming out of it. But anyway, so I'm still struggling. And then 2018 summertime, I'm back. 2018 fall, I'm there. Still struggling, still trying to build my business, working at it. At this point, as I should probably mention, it was around I think once I started to get my own place, around October 2017 is when they allowed me to go back to prospecting. So that's what I did. I should have never stopped, but that's what I did anyway. And then from that point on, I was still prospecting. And then, fast forward back to what I was saying, 2018 fall, and I'm in Ames. I had sponsored some links at this point, but they all quit at this point. And so it's just me, myself. After I sponsored some legs and then them quitting. But then I eventually made one leg, and around late fall of 2018, it's roughly November, October. Kind of funny story. First leg, first partnership to actually stick. So at this point in time, I fell into financial hard time. Well, I was already in financial hard times, but things took a deeper dive to my 07 Malibus. Like I said before, was having problems, and eventually I actually got into a car crash where actually a semi hit the back of my vehicle and totaled it. I was fine. All praises the Most High, but my car was lost, and so I had no car, and my credit wasn't that good either. It wasn't bad, just I didn't have enough credit to apply for a loan. I tried applying for loans, but I wasn't able to get approved for it. I later find out that I actually had the score to get a car. It's just I went to the wrong places, but my upline didn't really help out with that. Kind of hypocritical. Eventually, when I lost my 07 Malibu, my upline sponsor Daniel wanted to sell me his car, which had over 200,000 miles on it for $3,000, an 09 Civic. But it's one of the things where you're here, there, and then later the next, as I mentioned before, because eventually he would get more strict about what to look for in a car. It's got to be a one owner, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be low mileage. But it's funny, when I first wrecked my car, he wanted to sell me his car, which had a lot of high mileage and all this stuff, and it was an 09 Civic, and he wanted to sell it to me for $3,000, because he wanted to get rid of it, right? But it's funny, he was quick to sell me that, but then at that time I didn't have the money to pay for it, so I didn't get it, and he sold it to, I guess, someone else or whatever. But later on, as I would continue to save money up for another car, he would get more strict about, hey, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be this. But a few months prior to that, you were less strict about it because it was your car that you were trying to get rid of. But again, his own convenience. But whatever. I'll probably go back to that later. But anyway, at this point, I don't have a car. I lost my 07 Malibu in 2018 September. A semi hit it, and then at this point in time, and that was my car that I was using for Uber and Lyft. So like I said, I'm from Ames, and so at this point in time, I'm using my mom's car since I'm in Ames. My mom was in Ames. I'm using my mom's car, and I get that registered in my Uber account and everything, and she's cool with it too. That she was cool with it, so I used my mom's car, and that was a car that I was using for Lyft and Uber. I put that card in my account, and I was using that for Lyft and Uber. And looking back at it now, I feel bad about that, but because I was her only car too. But and she's working, still going to school at this point because she's working full time. So like, she's going to this community college slowly, a class at a time, maybe a class or two at a time. And, she's working full time too. And then here I am dropping out of college, and then I'm using her car years later to do Uber and Lyft to try and pay off my Amway LTD business, my bills, and also trying to save money for another car because I'm having trouble finding a loan to get approved for to get a new car, right? So now I'm having to just save up money and just buy one off pocket. So that's where I'm at, and I meet my first leg 2018, late 2018, around November. That actually sticks, and we actually became really best friends, actually, me and that leg. I'm not going to say his name. And that actually changed a lot of things because that leg would eventually go at 2500 PV, which would be like a huge catalyst for Daniel to actually go platinum and go Q12 platinum down the road. So, that was a pretty big leg. He built some really good depth. That leg that stayed. So there's that 2018, and then we moved to 2019. Still doing Uber, still doing Lyft, still struggling financially, and at this point in time, it's gotten to a point where, I'm asking my mom to kind of live with her, and she's fine with it because I'm having trouble pay off rent where I'm at. When I moved back to Ames, I got an apartment on my own. I got a roommate, but I wasn't living with my mom at that time when I went back to Ames initially for the first year or so. And then as we moved to early 2019, I'm asking her to kind of move in with her after my lease ends in the summer of 2019, so I can just save up money and save money for my car and also try and pay off Amway LTD. So she's fine with that, and actually really cool with that too. I think at that point in time, our relationship got better because she realized that I really took this business seriously, even though I shouldn't have, and she just respected it instead of trying to, I guess, be negative about it, So we actually got closer about it, and then I moved back in with her around summer 2018. At this point, I'm like, I think 21 years old. That's not a good sight, honestly, for a mom to see looking back at it. Her son goes to college, drops out, whatever. But moving back with my mom in 2019, trying to pay off this business, doing Uber, Lyft, save money for a car. Eventually, I stopped doing Uber and Lyft, and then around 2019 summertime, and I'm still prospecting, still trying to meet people, working really hard at it. Actually, it was around this time I went to a spring conference 2019, April, before I moved to my mom's house, that it kind of re-sparked me even more to build it harder, and so I did. And there's like a huge stream of months where I was having a lot of meetings, a lot of prospecting, everything. more than I ever had before, and nothing really came out of it, really, honestly. Nothing. Not new people, nothing really. It was just really nothing, honestly. Let's see. So that's mostly the rest of 2019. As we move to 2020, I'm still saving money for a car, because it takes a while to save money for a car if you're just trying to pay it off cash. And at this point in time, I'm working for a factory, which is the highest paying job that I've had at this point, in Ames, Iowa. And so my paycheck is getting higher, and so my upline is now suggesting that, because my idea was to have a good certain set of money to each paycheck towards my car that I was saving up for. But my upline was saying, no, use as much as you can towards your ditto, towards your business, towards LTD. So again, naively, I trusted him. Went against my gut because I knew I needed to save money for a car, to not be on foot all while, not be on the local bus for, more than I could, but I do it anyway. And eventually it got to the point where, I'm just going to trust my gut. This is when I started to trust my gut more often now, not to the full degree, but this is where I started to trust more my gut, and was like, no, this is wrong. So a few months after that suggestion, I actually start then putting more money towards saving for my car and less towards my business. I was still putting money towards the business, but just less, and then and that's how it was. They were kind of mad about that, but oh well, I didn't care, because it got to the point where I was spending like $1,000 a month towards my Amway products. Not joking. So like, once I started working for this factory in Ames, when I moved back after a while, and it was making more money than I ever made in my life at this point, I was spending $1,000 a month towards my products, and then $90 on top of that towards my LTD business, and then more towards conferences and hotels for conferences and stuff like that, tickets, whatever. So a lot of money was being spent towards Amway and LTD total per month. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna still spend a lot here, but I'm also put some money aside towards my car, not just put it all towards Amway and LTD. So eventually I chose to do that. They're mad about that, but oh well, because how I saw it was going against my gut. And also I saw it as well as, it won't take forever for me to save money for a car. I can just, do what I'm doing now for a few months, put some money aside for my car, and then once that it's all saved up, then I can put more money towards my business. And that's what happened, actually. That's actually what happened, because then eventually, I believe it was 2020, I got my car, my second car that I was saving up for. And let's see here. And that was the pandemic. That was around summer of 2020. I guess before that, I was working really hard towards my business. But when the pandemic hit, I used that as a reason to just stop prospecting, because at this point in time, I was like, what, I'm not seeing any results anyway. I'm tired of this crap. So I just took a break. I was still going to meetings and stuff, but, I wasn't prospecting. And then luckily there was a pandemic happening too, so it was like there's really not much to do anyway. And then all the meetings were virtual, which I was still attending, but it was all virtual. And then I eventually got my car in 2020 summertime. My upline was not too happy about that, because it's a Honda Fit 08. It's a great car, but they were like, nah, it just seems too small for us, whatever. But whatever. And then they were like, yeah, it's supposed to be a one owner, but it's a two owner. But mind you, my car was an 08 Honda Fit, it had 37,000 miles on it, and the first two owners barely drove it. The first owner owned it for about maybe a year, and the other owner had it the rest of that time being, and it was barely driven. And it total had 37,000 miles on it when I bought it. So it was in great condition. It didn't really matter if it was two owners or just one. And the car, if you actually sit inside it, it's actually a normal sized car, honestly. And they even said themselves too when they got in it, but like they just saw a picture of it. It's like, whatever, too small, whatever, not two owner, whatever. And it's funny how they got more strict about, because it wasn't just towards me, but just towards everyone that they would coach that like, it needs to be one owner, needs to have low mileage, whatever. They had all these strict rules about buying a car, but like it was really hypocritical because it wasn't that long ago, months prior, when I lost my '07 Malibu, that Daniel was wanting to have me buy his car immediately that had over 200,000 miles on it, '09 Civic, not a one owner, but just hypocritical. He's here one day and then there the next day. That's how he is, and it's very hypocritical too. It's funny, how he was so strict about, he would later on be so strict about, this and this for a car, but like but beforehand, if it's like he wants to sell his car right away, TJ lost his car, okay, let me sell my car, because I'm gonna sell it anyway, whatever. But anyway, hypocritical. And then let's see, I get my car in 2020, and the reason why I got it too, because I knew the history of it. I knew it was a good car, and my gut was saying this is the right car for me, even though my upline is saying no. But at this point in time, I just started to trust my gut because of all the bullshit that happened beforehand, that I just went with my gut this time and said, no, I'm getting this car. And I got it. And I still have it today, and it's still great condition. I think it's like at 71,000 miles right now. Great condition, great car. And that's funny because I probably wouldn't have had a good car as I had right now if I had trusted my upline versus trusting my gut. But anyway, your gut is always right. But anyway, there's that, and then at this point in time, when the pandemic hit, it was just I had enough. The prospecting and the contacting and the grind that I was putting in, nothing to show for it. I had enough of being consistent. I didn't leave the business at this point, but I had enough of being consistent towards it. So at this point in time, I was mostly just working and then attending meetings, but I wasn't, actively prospecting anymore so much as I was during this time frame. And it was like that pretty much the rest of my time there. And I left around 2022, June 2022. So let's see here. Is there anything significant that happened in 2020? After I got my car, summer 2020, let's see. Then there's fall 2020, spring 2021. Nothing really. It was just during that time I was going through some things mentally, anxiety and stuff just during that time, and there's just some personal things internally that I needed to deal with, and I went through it. Let's see. And then 2021, my first leg, the leg that stuck, that that went 1200. That leg, he shared with me his faith. He converted to being a Nazarite around. So fast forward now, we're 2021. Nothing's changed. Still with my mom. I'm at the business. It's I only have one leg that's gone, 200 PV. So it's good for Daniel for PV wise and him going platinum. And at this point, he did go platinum. He went Q12, but me, I'm still struggling financially. Nothing's changed financially. So fast forward, we're in 2021, and halfway through, around summer 2021, the leg that stuck, the one I'm not going to say his name, he shares me with his faith, which is Nazarite. You convert to being a Nazarite, and fast forward, I became a Nazarite because he shared me some of his classes that he's been learning from, and that changed my whole perspective on life and faith and religion. And then I started to see what they're doing at the conferences, every Sunday. When you used to think that was a good thing, but really it's not a good thing. It's just I realized that they're using religion, spirituality, to sell their business practices. Because, every Sunday, at a conference, those quarterly meetings, as I mentioned before in a previous episode, that like those Sundays, they have the speakers line up the people in the audience to come to the stage and say the Lord's Prayer and commit their life to Christ and get saved. And you think that's beautiful, but really all it is it's just a way to kind of like make it seem that Amway is a good thing, and Amway and LTD is like this spiritual calling, and it's manipulation, in my opinion. And it's just they're using religion to sell their business practices, in my opinion. Having to deal with that, it's not fitting to do that at a business conference where you're making it all religious and have people get saved. And like I said, I believe in Christ and God. It seemed to me like they were just using it for the wrong reasons, spirituality for the wrong reasons, in my opinion, from being awakened in my faith, being a Nazarite. And so I saw a lot of red flags, a lot of misuse of scripture. I could go into that. So just a lot of red flags, and that goes all the way that was summer 2021, that goes all the way to 2022. And at this point, I'm still struggling with my mom, still struggling financially. And it got to a point where now, 2022, it's been 6 years, nothing to show for it. Financially, I'm struggling. There's been months where I haven't paid for, Amway Ditto or LTD, throughout that time. Like, there's been, not the whole time, but there were some months where I wasn't able to pay off anything because I was struggling trying to pay off Amway, LTD, and my bills, and then once things changed financially for me, where I was making more money at my job, they wanted me to spend more money that I was making towards my business. And so then I did, and then it just, all in all, 6 years, just a lot of money was spent towards it. I'm talking like there was a good set of months throughout that time frame where I'm spending $1,000 alone on products. So we're talking about energy drinks, food bars, push shakes, all that, $1,000 a month. And not to mention LTD subscription to buying the audios, going to functions, conferences, stuff like that too. So just a lot of money being spent. And I look at that all 6 years down the road, and it's just, wow. I'm still stuck financially. I'm living with my mom. I'm broke. And I'm struggling financially, still. And I'm still having trouble trying to pay off Ditto too at this point still. At this point, 6 years later, I'm still struggling trying to pay off Ditto, the Amway Ditto, and the LTD subscription as well. Still, 6 years later, bro. And I look at that, and I look at the spiritual manipulation as well, and I look at how every year during taxes, including that last year, I was at a loss, and they actually told me not to even report for taxes that last year because I was at such a huge loss that there's just no point in filing for it. But every year was a loss, and it was just, jeez. And honestly, during that whole time frame of being in there for 6 years, it's just never served as a financial benefit for me at all. It has never financially benefited me at all. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell you that on average, like, before I sponsored that one leg that stuck, I was making maybe $9 a month, maybe out of spending like, maybe $400 a month on Amway products alone. Not to mention what I was spending on LTD, conferences, subscriptions, stuff like that too. And then even when I sponsored that one leg, and even when I started making more money at the factory, at the job that I was working at, or whatever, and when it got to the point where I was spending $1,000 a month on my products, I was making like $300 back. That's not even half $1,000. So I mean, I can look at that all, and like I can tell you that, like, even if you took LTD out of the equation, the amount of money that I was spending on my Amway website alone, I didn't even make half of what I was spending towards my Amway LTD, my Amway website alone. I wasn't making half of that ever in my whole 6 years being in business. That, like, if you took LTD out of the equation, right? The amount of money that I would spend on my Amway website per month, I didn't even make half of that much money that I was spending per month. Not even half, ever. It was very, very insignificant money alone. And then if you add in the LTD expenses, I'm spending a lot of money towards Amway and LTD, and I'm barely making a fraction back out of it. So it's never served as a financial benefit for me at all. I mean, I made money, but I never made a profit, and I never made even half of what I was spending, and I never made the same amount of money that I was spending ever. It was very, very insignificant money that I was making. Very, very. So I look at all that, and then I see what spiritually they're doing, manipulating people spiritually. And so then at that point in time, I texted my upline, Daniel Global, and I said to him that, I need time to think, because I'm not sure this is the right path for me to be in personally. And then he comes back and does this spiritual manipulation, saying, I'm not going to argue with you, TJ, but you and I both know that God is using this business to change lives. And what, I've had it at that point in time too, because he would do things like this, where he would try and manipulate me and control me, and I got to the point where I've had enough of his bullshit. And so I said to him angrily that I'm not going to argue with you either, but don't tell me what you think I know. You don't know what I know. You know what I mean? And then he responded to me that, instead of taking time to think and being alone, you need to be around others, because through God that, he speaks through the communion of others. And then I said to him that God won't be able to speak to me because the so-called communion that you're talking about is covered in darkness, and then yeah. So then I took about another month to think about it, and then eventually I left. I decided to leave, and I left respectfully, saying that I wish him and his wife well, because actually he got married in January 2020 to now Tao Global. Her maiden name is Tao Ha, and let's see, they actually met at UNI, and this is around the time when he went around 4,000, and it was actually around the time when we were about to move to Ames that he met Tao at college. It was around 2018. It was around like early 2018 when they met. So I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but yeah, eventually they got married 2020. So anyway, so I said I wished him and his wife well, and that was it. and I didn't get a response back. Actually, I had to go to GroupMe, which is an app that we would use to communicate with not only my sponsor, but just like people on Daniel Gold's team. And I texted him privately through there on that GroupMe app, and I just asked him, did he get my text? And then he said, yes, I got your text. Not like I wish you well or whatever like I did. It was just, yes, I got your text. And like I said, I'm very intuitive, so I can read between the lines, and I can tell that he didn't really care about me, truly. You know, that all the stuff that he said to me all those years was a lie. You know, that he'll always be there for me, that like I'm a brother to him, and that like one day you and I, you know, we're gonna get, you know, we're gonna have our own families and have our own kids, and our own kids are gonna know each other, and we're gonna see our own kids, you know, be friends and grow up with each other. But it was all BS, because to this day, about a year after I've left, a year and a half later that I've left, you know, he hasn't reached out to me. We haven't talked. And actually, there's been times when I've seen him at the gym and he's just giving me like a weird face. You know, it's just, he never really loved me, you know, and it was all transactional. Even though he would always say that it's not transactional, it truly was transactional. It was what could he get from me. And once he got it, he was done. And that's the truth. And I found that out. It took 6 years to find that out after that happened. And so, you know, to Daniel Goebel, I say fuck you. And you know what? You're lucky I'm not going to kick your ass, because you deserve it. Out of all the bullshit that you did to me, the manipulation that you did to me, honestly, fuck you. I mean, like, down to it. I mean, you not only trying to manipulate me, you tried to change me, change who I am, because I'm unique, I'm different. Even down to the point of my meal plan, you know, I'm disciplined, I eat healthy, I work out consistently. He would try and change that, and like, you know, like for example, I do a cheat day like once a week, and then I eat healthy the rest of the week, 6 days a week. And so like, you'd try and like change what I do and say that's not good for you and all this other stuff, and like lecture me about that, and like say, you know, why don't you come to me for fitness advice when he's like small and I'm way bigger than him fitness wise, muscular wise. But like, it's, you know, it's funny how like in the business, if you're in the business, they always talk about having fruit on the tree and having credibility and experience. But it's funny how, like, you know, when in this case, when he's intimidated by my fitness, you know, he's like, no, man, you need to ask me for advice when I have more experience than him. You know, just hypocritical. But anyway, but he would try and change me like that, even in matters like that, you know, just my lifestyle. And like, and there was a time when I actually bought into that, and I tried doing it his way, and then I was like, no, this isn't me. And then I went back to my own lifestyle of just what I was doing, you know, 1 cheat day a week, and then 6 days a week eating healthy. And you know what, and throughout my whole time, I've been doing this since, you know, I was 15, you know, and I've seen results, you know, and I've gotten bigger, stronger. It hasn't like held me back, as he would say, where like, you know, you would look a lot better if you didn't do a cheat day, or like it's holding you back, and like instead of like making you like grow fitness wise, it's actually making you decrease. And really, since I was 15, I've been getting more and more better shape, you know, and that's, you know, part of which from doing this meal plan that I'm doing, that he was criticizing. But you know, whatever. And it's also more results than you've ever had in your life, honestly. So fuck you. And you have small legs. So anyway, overall, it was a scam. Amway is a scam, LTD is a scam, and I would eventually find out that, because when I first left, I thought it was a legitimate business. I thought LTD and Amway were legitimate, but just not the right path for me, and just not the right path for me to take, or to continue to take, because I'm losing money. But then a few months passed by after I left in 2022 of June officially, and it was around like October, November 2022 when I just was thinking to myself, you know what, it doesn't seem right. I saw Dana go from like a 200 PV to Q-Top Platinum, and making all this money, and throughout that whole time, 6 years, I was losing money, and I was financially struggling, and it led me to do my own research, because we were always taught not to research Amway and LTD because it's always negative, negative bathroom wall society, everyone has an agenda, whatever. But this time I was like, you know what, I'm open-minded now. I'm gonna do my own research and be just unbiased this time. And then eventually that's how I found out that through time that Amway is a scam, and so is LTD. And I will dive deep into those topics in the next episode of how Amway and LTD is a scam. But let's see, I think that was 3 episodes. So that was my whole story in 3 episodes. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. I think I got it all out. I think I got my whole story out. I guess I'll mention too, when I left, that leg that was 1200 PV, that leg that was below me, it actually went 5,000 the month after I left, July 2022, but then August it fell back quite a bit. And actually it hasn't grown since, what I can tell. But anyway, so there's that. My whole story of being an Amway and LTD, the scam, my upline, fuck you, LTD, fuck you, Amway, fuck you. And I guess the next episode we're going to dive deep into the lies and fallacies of Amway and LTD specifically, and I'm going to expose why those two businesses / establishments are scams, and how I found out them to be scams. And I will list my sources on the next episode for you to all do your research, and then we'll continue on from there. But that's my whole story, and I hope it was pretty simple and easy to follow along. These first 3 episodes, like I said again, my first episode, so this is my first podcast, but hopefully you're able to follow along, and hopefully it made sense. Let's see here, and then also in the next episode I'll also make sure to dive deep into how LTD got started and how it still stayed today as well. But yeah, so I guess the next episode is going to be about Amway and LTD, and how they're scams, and we'll just dive deep into the lies and fallacies of those two things, and we'll dive deep into how they have sustained themselves for years. So, but these first 3 episodes were my story, and so that's my story. Finally got it out there. I've always wanted to share my story. I needed to get this out because I've just had so much anger built up in me. It feels good now that I'm able to just get my whole story out there and just be able to share all the bullshit that's happened. So anyway, that's my story. That's part 3, I believe. And we'll catch you in the next episode, where we'll dive deep into the lies of Amway and LTD and expose them as the scams that they are, because they are scams. They're not legitimate. So that's my story, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Unplug. Thank you.